Chairman Bishop, Ranking Member Hall, thank you very much for considering this important bill, 1038. My bill will provide long-awaited relief to the residents of Mountainnaire subdivision in Coconino County, Arizona. An incorrect BLM survey in the 1960s mistakenly identified between 2.5 and 3 acres of Forest Service as private property. As a result, 27 property owners are facing questions and difficulties over their own properties and their own home. But don't take my word for it. What we did is we asked to involve the people back home, and if you'll turn your attention to the monitors, if we can get the lights dimmed, we'll let you tell them, they will tell you their story. So we can get it, Kelly.
Just saw a picture of the post that was put in 2007 that showed the line for the new forest boundary. You can imagine my surprise when I woke up one morning and saw that line there, and how far that had moved, and how that encompassed my entire home in the forest. I used to own this. This is the only house I have. I am a widow. I am retired. I am on Social Security. This is it. And now all of that does not belong to me. None of it belongs to me. If that house burns down, because I'm on the edge of the forest, I can't rebuild it. Yet I still pay taxes on it.
Hi, I've lived in my home since 1982. We've had that property surveyed 3 different times through the years, so it was a shock when the Forest Service actually moved the boundary onto my property. It actually takes in part of my home, the structure itself.
Well, unfortunately, we ran through this several times yesterday, and it actually worked very, very well. So I apologize, when something goes wrong, it will go wrong. But what I want to really say is that what you are seeing is a piece of property where people, are victims of the situation here. What the BLM did a survey in the 60s. Houses, families were reared and built, and people all of a sudden discovered when we had new technology to show that their properties weren't actually where they actually were. They were actually on the Forest Service. This involves 2.5 acres, 2.5 to 3 acres, and what we're looking at is trying to purchase that. So H.R. 1038 simply authorizes the Secretary of Agriculture to convey the parcels of land under dispute to a legal entity representing the majority of the landowners affected in this matter. The community of Mountainnaire stands ready to raise the $20,000 required to buy the parcels back from the Secretary. In other words, my legislation presents a solution where all parties have skin in the game and everybody wins. I'm also pleased to see that the administration testifying today in support of this legislation. This is common sense. This is getting people back to solution processes where they actually are empowered to make their own solutions. I thank the committee for considering the legislation today and look forward to my colleagues to support this strong common sense measure to achieve justice for all parties. Thank you. First of all, I'd like to introduce Mr. Gregory Smith, the Acting Deputy Chief of Staff of the U.S. Forest Service. 5-minute testimony. If you see the little light get yellow, that means to speed it up, and red means to wind it down. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. I'm here to testify on 6 bills, and I'll try to be brief about them. H.R. 1038. The Department supports H.R. 1038, a bill designated to correct an erroneous private survey on the Coconino National Forest in Arizona. Because of the erroneous survey, approximately 19 acres, totaling about 2.67 acres of National Forest System lands, now have structures built on them. Although the Forest Service has administrative authority to sell the land, the bill would provide a more quickly and efficient resolution to the issue with all property owners at the same time. To ensure that approximate compensation and appropriate compensation of the land to be conveyed is recovered on behalf of American taxpayers, an appraisal should be done consistent with federal appraisal standards, and the homeowners would pay the appraised value.
Colleagues from and friends from Coconino County, Supervisor Matt Ryan.
Thank you, Acting Chair Gozar, Chairman Bishop, and Ranking Member, and a special hello to Ranking Member Grajava. It's nice to see you, sir. Members of the committee or subcommittee on national parks, forests, and public lands, I appreciate the opportunity to provide testimony on H.R. 1038, legislation to address a boundary correction in the Mountainnaire subdivision in Coconino County National Forest, Arizona. My name is Matt Ryan, and I serve on the Coconino County Board of Supervisors representing District 3. I am here today representing my district and the Coconino County Board of Supervisors. Coconino County would like to thank the subcommittee for the consideration of H.R. 1038. On behalf of Coconino County and the residents of District 3, we would also like to thank Congressman Paul Gosar for introducing the legislation to address this important issue. H.R. 1038 will provide a much-needed relief to homeowners of Mountainnaire subdivision. As background, in November 2007, the United States Bureau of Land Management completed a land survey in the Mountainnaire subdivision in Coconino National Forest. During the 2007 survey, the BLM determined that an erroneous privately contracted survey of Mountainnaire Unit 1, which was completed in 1960 and 1961, misidentified several acres of the United States Forest Service land as private property. Since this time, the surveyors have passed away, and the homeowners are faced with the situation of living on land owned by the Forest Service. On some of the developed parcels, the revised boundary goes through portions of the landowner's residences. Furthermore, several of these residents have maintained these parcels and developed them as their own for years, and in some cases for decades. It's important to point out that these homeowners purchased their property legally based on the results of the original survey. These homeowners acted within the law and acquired this property through proper channels. The boundary discrepancy impacts 26 lots and 27 property owners in the Mountainnaire subdivision. The entire encroachment for all lots involves a total area of 2.5 to 3 acres. Since 2007, a number of property owners in this area have attempted to sell their property and have difficulty in doing so due to questions associated with land ownership. As you are well aware, the Forest Service has limited ability to convey land to private property owners. Under the Small Tracts Act, Public Law 97-465, the Forest Service is authorized to sell or exchange small parcels of federal land that meet certain criteria. The Small Tracts Act requires the Forest Service to work with individual landowners to convey the property at fair market value. This option, however, would prove costly to the landowners and the federal government and could potentially take several years to complete. Following discussions with the Forest Service, Coconino County and the impacted homeowners, it was determined that the pursuing legislation to correct the boundary discrepancy would be the most viable option. A legislative option was raised to provide Forest Service the authority needed to convey the property to the landowners without any consideration from the landowners. Under this option, the cost of the Forest Service and landowners would be minimal, and the amount of time to correct the discrepancy significantly reduced. Representative Paul Gosar introduced H.R. 1038 as a result of these discussions. It's important to point out that this conveyance will have a cost to the county and the homeowners. Both groups will pay an additional survey of each individual parcel, the cost to create a legal entity to receive the property, as well as the $20,000 included in the consideration of the legislation. We believe this is a small price to grant these homeowners the peace of mind knowing the property they live on is their own. Thank you for the opportunity to address your committee. The County Board of Supervisors will extend our gratitude to Chairman Bishop, to Congressman Gosar, and the committee for the continued efforts to address the Mountainnaire boundary discrepancy.
Thank you, Supervisor Ryan. The chair will recognize himself, and the first question, Mr. Ryan. I know you answered most of these questions, but I really want to highlight them. What do you think the best remedy for the homeowners and the county is in this unfortunate situation in Mountainnaire?
Thank you, Congressman Gosar. As you know, many of these people are going through difficult times. We heard it tonight. We see it throughout the country. This adds an additional challenge for them. It's a method of transfer at least cost for these property owners. They are willing to pay the $20,000. They would support paying less, quite frankly. But we do know also that the Forest Service and the federal government need to have some level of reimbursement. They understand that, and they are willing to pay.
Now, for the record, these homeowners have all been paying their taxes, right, for this parcel of land?
They have been, Congressman Gosar. They've been paying their taxes since the inception, or since the first sales occurred with the subdivision itself. It is important to note that they've also been treating it as their private land, and the county and the property owners had no idea this survey was erroneous, and what they had done legally. They used a correct process based on what was supposed to be an accurate survey.
So I also want to finish up with highlighting why the Small Tracts Act doesn't really work in this case, and why it's prohibited versus this kind of common sense protocol.
Thank you, Congressman Gosar. The Small Tracts Act it takes a long time. The Forest Service has to work with each property individually, which would be all these properties handled individually. It's not necessarily the most cost-effective mechanism for the Forest Service as well as the property owners. The costs go up related to that. It would require an appraised value associated with the properties, and in essence, the property owners who already paid for these lands out and out with higher assessed values would have to pay again. This alternative is quick and efficient both for the Forest Service as well as the property owners.
Well, and I think this is so apropos because this was a community that was driven together for a common solution, and this is a common solution that they all fittingly are part of. And that's why I want to commend them for doing this, and tell them I'm very sorry that the IT failed us today, but we'll post it. But what the magic of this was allowing them to be part of that solution, empowering people to be part of that, and they willingly did this, and it shows you just a beautiful part of my district that I'm spoiled with. So I would hope that we could move this thing fast and move it forward appropriately for these people so that they can celebrate owning their own home and property. So, Mr. Ryan, thank you so very much.
And to Mr. Ryan and Mr. Gregory, I apologize for not giving any questions. How are you? Okay, good. Thank you for being here. I'll go back.
Thank you, Chairman. And I just want to say once again, Matt, on behalf of me, I just want to say thank you to all the people in Mountainnaire for how they orchestrated themselves, how they conducted business on behalf of themselves, coalescing the County Board of Supervisors, and how they came together with another idea. And I just want to applaud that because that's the way things ought to work.
Thank you, Congressman Gosar. Appreciate it.
If there are no further questions, and the members and the staff for their participation and preparation, members of the subcommittee may have additional questions for the witnesses, and they can ask you to respond in these in writing. The hearing record will be open for 10 days to receive these responses. If there's no further business, without objection, the subcommittee stands adjourned.